First of all, thank you, Yuki, thank you, Bina, thank you, Fair Oaks. I've been to this club maybe 10 times. I come. Here's my rule. I go to one Toastmasters meeting a week, and this is like the last Toastmasters meeting of the week. So if I haven't been Monday through Saturday, I come to Fair Oaks Toastmasters. I am here today to tell you about Pathways. In short, Pathways is the new education curriculum for Toastmasters. For those of you members, the education curriculum currently looks like this. We have a competent communication manual. We also have a competent communication manual, competent leadership manual, and then 15 advanced manuals on top of that. This is changing completely. And today I'm here to give you an overview of what that means, the who, what, where, when, why, how of Pathways. And I encourage you to ask questions. If at any point you have questions, just raise your hand. Don't wait till the end. Don't wait to forget your questions. I will finish my thought and we'll get to your question. This rolls out soon. Pathways rolls out in about a week and a half. And at that point, you will actually get to use it and experience it, and you will have lots of questions then. And I encourage you to ask Bina, who's your Vice President of Education. She's also my boss in this Pathways role. She is conducting the entire Pathways rollout for District 101. So she will have the answer. If not, she can ask me, and I will give you the answer. The point is, today is not going to answer every single question you have because you haven't used it yet. I don't have all the answers. I'm just here to give you an overview. Raise your hand if you know when the first Toastmasters meeting ever was held and where it was held. I know Bina knows. Anybody else?
Wasn't it in like a basement in like the 1920s?
It was in the 1920s. I don't know about the basement. That sounds right though. Bina?
1924 in Santa Ana,
Santa
California.
Ana. That's right. Just about 500, 600 miles down the coast of Santa Ana. This guy, Ralph Smedley, got a group of people together to work on their communication skills and their leadership skills. And this right here, this quote from Mr. Smedley is really the ethos of what we are doing here in Toastmasters. We are here to discover your hidden abilities, your natural communication skills and leadership skills, and hone those, because he knew back in the 1920s that advancing those skills will affect so many areas of your life. And for those of you guests, I encourage you to stay after to talk to myself, or Yuki, or Bina, or any of the people who've been in this club for a while, and we will all have our own stories of how Toastmasters affected all areas of our life. The very first education manual, and this is new to me, I had never seen a picture of this. The very first curriculum that was introduced was this, the Basic Training for Toastmasters. This came out in about 1940, and this was an attempt to standardize the experience because they were growing the number of clubs, and they wanted a unique standard experience, a standard experience for every single club out there. And this is the way Toastmasters is today. You can go to Fair Oaks Toastmasters in Sunnyvale, and you might go to a club in India, and the experience is largely going to be the same. This basic training evolved into what we are all very familiar with as members, the competent communication, competent leadership manuals, sort of these separate tracks, communication here, leadership here, and you level up from competent communicator to advanced communicator, bronze, silver, gold, and then you have this separate leadership track. What we are talking about today is the biggest change in the curriculum basically ever since this basic training came out. So everything that we know has been turned on its head, and it's a totally new way of doing the Toastmasters curriculum. What is not changing though? The very basis of our meetings, how we conduct the meetings, the format, the length of time, the roles, that all stays the same. The only thing that's changing is the manuals and the curriculum that you are working out of as you progress yourself through your Toastmasters experience. Does that make sense? In 2010, so this has been a 7-year process. This is not like Toastmasters just decided to do this last month. In 2010, the board of directors sat down. Toastmasters is an international organization with thousands of clubs and 400,000 members in the world. So they sat down in 2010 and they came up with these, I'll call them core values. Why is Toastmasters so unique, and why is it so gosh darn effective? Because it's high value. We would not be here from 11:30 to 1 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon if we weren't deriving value from this in teaching and improving our communication and leadership skills. It's fun, number 2. This is something that we all signed up for. Most of us, our bosses, haven't told us that you have to go to Toastmasters. We are electively choosing to be here, and so we are learning in a very fun way. Toastmasters should be customized to our needs. And you'll see this as one area for improvement with the new curriculum, is that it's becoming more customized to what each and every one of you wants to do. Because I might be in Toastmasters for a different reason than the rest of you. And our experiences should be customized for what we specifically are looking to learn. Flexible, very related to customizable. Competency-based. You'll see that with the new Pathways curriculum, you are choosing which of 10 competencies related to communication and leadership you want to improve. Because right now everybody gets the same competency. It's a competent communication track. But now each person chooses which competency they want to focus on. Resource rich, they realized in 2010 that the resources were great, and they could be even more improved if they sat in a central place online in a database so that we as members could access them whenever, rather than having to go to these paperback manuals to access those resources. And of course, meaningful, effective evaluations. This has been a part of Toastmasters all along. How do we give constructive feedback to one another so our feedback is heard and the person improves? And this really isn't changing much. In fact, it's just getting improved. You choose the experience. This is a little bit going into, in 2010, what they realized they needed to develop the curriculum into. So more tailored learning, flexible, so we each choose our own experience, a little bit modernized, and really integrating these two paths, the communication and leadership path, into one curriculum. Anybody have any questions yet? Let's watch this video, and this will give you a good overview.
Welcome to the Toastmasters Pathways learning
You hear that?
experience. An exciting, flexible, and interactive way to develop your skills and help others in your club develop theirs. Building on Dr. Smedley's original vision and Toastmasters' core competencies, Pathways upholds the club experience while offering new, revitalized educational content that helps you learn communication and leadership skills that address real-world scenarios. Pathways expands on the current education and leadership tracks by offering more than 300 competencies across 59 projects. These projects are divided into 10 specialized learning paths that allow you to tailor your experience to fit your needs and your pace. All of this content is available online, allowing you to learn anytime, anywhere, from your computer, laptop, or tablet through Basecamp. Basecamp is the place where you'll find all of the materials for your learning experience, along with tools for your journey. In Basecamp, you'll be able to share feedback with fellow club members, view badges you've earned, access and save digital speech evaluations, and more. When you first begin Pathways, you'll take an online assessment that will recommend the path that's right for you. You'll be able to access your path from your education transcript in Basecamp, where you can view and complete projects. New elective projects, such as write a compelling blog and manage projects successfully, allow you to tailor your learning to meet your interests. Projects in Basecamp include a variety of interactive elements, including questionnaires, quizzes, menus, and expandable content. Educational videos model skills and provide demonstrations of the concepts you are learning. For example, Prepare for an Interview shows effective and ineffective interview techniques. Introduction to Toastmasters Mentoring demonstrates the difference between coaching and mentoring. And Manage Online Meetings provides the best practices and strategies for holding a webinar or another type of online meeting. As you can see, Pathways represents an exciting paradigm shift that brings with it many new learning opportunities. What's more, Pathways will feel familiar to you because it maintains the things you love about Toastmasters, including your club experience. Pathways is coming to your club soon. Speak to your Pathways guide to make sure you're ready to log into Basecamp. And visit toastmasters.org/pathways to learn more.
All right, any questions? Yes. What's your name again?
Sorry.
What's your name?
My name is Madhavi.
Madhuri?
Madhavi.
Madhavi.
Yeah.
Okay. What's
So,
your question?
my question is, so what happens to the existing projects if we are midway in the manual? What happens answer that? We
That
drop
is
it
always
off.
the first question people have. I love that. You will have 2 years past the rollout of the very last region in the world to finish your existing curriculum if you so choose. Okay? New members, if you join after September 19th, you will start this. So you will never, basically now, you will never experience these paperback manuals as they exist today. But for existing members, again, you will have 2 years. And the next question is, when does the last region in the world roll out? Because we're Region 2, District 101 is part of Region 2. And we roll out September 19th, but we're one of the earlier regions to roll out. So I don't have an exact date of when the last region is going to roll out, but sometime in 2018. I'm thinking towards the middle, towards the end. So you have 2 years from then, which is middle to end of 2020, to basically finish your Distinguished Toastmaster if you so choose. If you think you can finish, if you think and want to finish your Distinguished Toastmaster by end of 2020, I would say go for it. If you're not close, or that's not important to you, I would go ahead and transition to the new curriculum right away.
So,
If you don't get there by, let's say, November 2020, then you start over.
okay, and does this also have a distinguished Toastmaster?
It does.
Okay.
Yes. The certifications along the way are different, but the end goal of Distinguished Toastmaster is the same. So you won't have competent communicator, competent leader, you'll have proficient in dynamic leadership and proficient in the second pathway. The end goal being Distinguished Toastmaster. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Question?
I'll take that a little further.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna be finished with my ACG probably in 18 months.
Okay.
But, and then I need to kind of time my commitment to being, you know, an area or district leader.
Yeah.
And so, if for some reason, since I moved slower than the turtle, what happens if I don't serve my the ALS part?
If you don't finish the entire Distinguished Toastmaster by end of 2020, let's call it,
Yeah,
then all the credit's gone.
okay, then I get to start from the beginning.
Then you get to start all over again.
Oh, okay, all right.
Look, Toastmasters understands that we are all at different points in our progress through Toastmasters. But at some point, they have to cut it off and transition everybody over. Otherwise, 10 years from now, 90% of the people are still going to be on the existing curriculum, and then 10% are going to be in the new. So I think they're being really lenient and gracious in giving us basically 2.5 to 3 years to finish. And I think that's definitely enough time if you are a competent communicator, competent leader. If you're just starting, again, if you're in the first 10 speeches in Toastmasters, I would personally just go to the new curriculum. But this is your decision to be made. So definitely time the area director role accordingly.
I'm gonna try to move faster.
Move back, yeah, like the hair. Yes,
So what I understand is if you are within the first 10 speech, you can just get off the train and take the new train and just
Just get off the
continue.
train, take
So
the
you
new
have
train.
to do all the things that you have done so far again, or you can just.
you have to do all the things you've done.
Okay.
Again. It's different, it's totally
Okay.
different. The icebreaker is different even.
Okay.
The very first project is different than it was.
Okay.
So it's just a different curriculum altogether.
Okay.
Right. All right. This is a slide that I made. Toastmasters International didn't make it, but I tried to summarize why they were doing this, because this is really important. We're going to get the what, where, who, when, how. That's easy stuff. But why have they decided, after almost 100 years, to totally revamp the curriculum? And I came up with this cute acronym. Maybe it's not cute, but it's an acronym. MIC with an extra C, like a microphone. MICC. They are modernizing, integrating, centralizing, and customizing the curriculum for each and every one of us. And what do I mean by that? Modernizing. They are modernizing the types of communication projects we can do. Because the types of communication there are here today in 2017 are much more varied than in the 1920s. So you might choose a project in the new curriculum to record your own podcast. Maybe you've always thought about having a podcast and you want to use this platform in Toastmasters to practice. Or maybe you want to practice your interviewing skills because you're not currently in a job and that's important to you. Well, guess what? There's going to be a project in which you can focus on your interviewing skills. That doesn't exist today. Maybe you want to do radio interviews or television interviews or blogging. All of those are examples of how they've modernized the projects in the curriculum to be more relevant in 2017 than it was before. They are integrating the communication and leadership track. I always get it backwards. The communication and leadership tracks. Raise your hand if you know what the motto of Toastmasters International is. Somebody else? Any guesses? Let's hear a guess. What is the motto?
tagline?
What is the tagline of Toastmasters International? It has nothing to do with communication.
Building the leaders.
What is it?
Building the leaders.
Yes, very close. Where leaders are made. Toastmasters International, where leaders are made. But they know from all of the statistics of people who finish these manuals, there's 400,000 people about in Toastmasters in the world. Less than 10% ever finish this first competent communication manual, and even fewer people finish the competent leadership manual. But we know that communication breeds leadership and vice versa. Leadership breeds communication. So these things really need to be coexisting. And you'll see with the new curriculum, the projects will involve leadership and communication together rather than having them being so separated. So they're integrating these separate skill sets into one curriculum. Centralizing in a single place. I have 15 of these manuals in different places in my life, at home, in my file cabinet, in my car, everywhere. This is not a centralized experience for me. I've had these manuals stolen, because I had my backpack stolen from my car, and I no longer had access to the notes, my evaluations, and the projects I had done. So guess what? They are centralizing it, so that when I go back and try to read all my evaluations and understand what skills I need to work on as a speaker, I can now do that in one place, online, in your individual base camp. And I don't have to go looking all across my house for my manuals, and this is not going to be taken from you because it's online, on the internet. You don't have any physical copies. So they have centralized this entire curriculum and learning experience in one place online, and then they're customizing. We've talked about this. You will choose your own path. So not all of us will be on the same path. It's great because we all are here for different reasons. Some people join to become better leaders, communicators. Some people join to compete. It's really up to you what you want to get out of this. Let's jump into how it looks. There will be 10 paths. And I will read these paths, and as I do, think about which ones you're interested in. Because the first thing you're going to do when Pathways launches on September 19th, you're going to take an assessment. And that assessment will recommend to you which path you should start on. But ultimately, it's up to you. So I'll read through the 10 different paths, and you think about which one is relevant to you and which ones aren't. Number 1, there's the dynamic leadership path. 2, effective coaching. Number 3, innovative planning. Number 4, leadership development. Number 5, motivational strategies. Number 6, persuasive influence. Number 7, presentation mastery. Number 8, strategic relationships. Number 9, team collaboration. And number 10, visionary communication. Each of those paths has about 15 different projects that you will do in order to complete that path. If we look here on the left, these are the skills that Toastmasters builds. And they've done a really nice thing for us. They've broken down communication skills, not just communication, but into 2 sub-skill sets. And they've broken down leadership skills into 2 subsets of leadership. And then we have confidence, which is contained in all of this. But the 2 areas of focus in terms of communication are public speaking, what we commonly think of as Toastmasters, but they're expanding it one level more to interpersonal communication. Because it's not sufficient enough to be great on stage if you don't have this person-to-person communication thing down once I get off the stage. So there's going to be an emphasis not only on public speaking, but also now on interpersonal communication across all of these paths. And how do we actually leverage these skills in the workplace or our family life and relationships so that our lives are better and improve. And then within leadership, we have 2 things. We have strategic leadership. How do I create a vision and understand where me and my team needs to go? And number 2, how do I actually manage that team on a day-to-day basis to get there? 2 very different skills, both encompassed within leadership. This is a lot, I know. I see some eyeballs rolling back. And you'll see these numbers underneath these paths, this path, for example, focuses on public speaking, management, interpersonal communication, and confidence. So each of these paths has different focus areas. I think this will help to clear things up. Say you choose a path. You choose innovative planning. I want to focus on innovative planning because I'm a planner for the city and that's the most interesting to me. You will jump into this path and there will be 5 different levels for you to complete. And you will get a certification after completing the first level, which is just 3 projects. So back to the fact that less than 10% of the people complete the communication manual, a lot of the thought is people they're not being giving accolades quickly enough because you have to do 10 speeches in this to get your competent communicator, which takes about a year at least for most people. Well, guess what? Now you jump into Toastmasters, you choose your path, and after 3 projects, you get an accolade. You are now level 1 in planning. And then as you go through this, you will do about 15 projects to become proficient in this pathway. So you're choosing a pathway, there's 5 levels in that pathway, and multiple projects within each level. Questions? Yes?
So you just mentioned that one level has like 15.
One path has
One
about
path.
15 projects.
So is it going to be different? Because if you go to the previous slide, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 was repeating in multiple them. Like
Oh,
That's the areas that you want.
so
Yeah,
I
this is
can
like-
understand. So basically, if I'm selecting dynamic leadership, which is again 1, 2, and 3, and versus even the motivational strategies, which is again 1, 2, and 3. So will they have a different
Different
thing?
projects.
But
Different
it is-
projects, different levels.
Okay.
This is more saying, these are the areas in which Toastmasters can improve you. If you really don't care about interpersonal communication, like, I don't know why you want to care about this, but maybe you just don't care about talking to people, you just want to present, then maybe you choose a path that doesn't have a number 2,
There is
like presentation mastery.
So there will not be any overlap, sir. There will not be any overlap in the, for example, dynamic leadership or something, a team collaboration. The particular project, there will not be overlap with the other part.
The path will be mostly unique. There will be some overlap in the projects that you give, but mostly it's going to be unique.
Okay.
So the exact path is not going to mirror another path, but you may end up giving a project that's similar. Does that make sense?
Yeah, got it.
Yes. Did you have a question, Bina?
For
Or an answer?
clarification, I think Chintan was confusing between these 5 competencies and those 5 levels. So there
Yes,
are 5
different.
competencies, 10 paths, and 5 levels.
Mm-hmm.
So don't confuse these 5 with those 5 levels.
Okay.
Yeah,
Level
this is
5 is like CC, CL, ACB.
Okay.
They are just calling it level 1 through 5.
Yeah, don't scrutinize this too much. The idea behind me sharing this with you is that they are expanding the competencies in which Toastmasters improves you upon. So there's more of an emphasis on interpersonal communication than there was before because that's a really important part of communication.
So-
There's more of an emphasis on these different areas of leadership than there were before.
So I have one more follow-up question. So if we go back to the slide, previous slide, so if you say that we have like 10 paths, what you have given here, and each have like 5 levels, and each will have like 2 to 3
Mhm.
chapters to complete.
Yeah.
So is that a level in which like if you are you can just choose one, or if you are completing one, can you pick another one from this, or you'll have to go to the next level or something? So in case if I finish dynamic leadership, if I wanted to also pick up the effective coaching,
Yeah.
so will that be as a part I can do, or it will be something else after
You can
finishing?
do 2 at the same time. You can do 2 paths concurrently. But if let's say, this project, researching and presenting, is in both paths, you're gonna have to do that twice.
Okay.
So you can't use one project to complete the same level in multiple paths.
Okay.
If we go to this slide, I added this as well. Here's an example, this is really small, I know, an example of the dynamic leadership path, but this lists out every speech and every project you're going to do. And you're gonna see there's a lot more electives than before, so they're presenting you with 15 different possible speeches and you're choosing 2 from that. So again, there's gonna be pretty little overlap, or there should be little overlap, because, why would you focus on the positive 2 times when you could do something else? So this is
can do as many of those as you want, right?
You can do as many as you want, but to put it into perspective, to get Distinguished Toastmaster, you just have to complete 2.
But you can do more for one.
Yeah, I mean, you could do 5 if you wanted, but
Okay,
it's gonna be a
Well,
lot.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
gonna be- No, it's, I would say focus on 1 or do 2. Each of us members will get our first path given to us. Each path after that, I think, costs $20 online. So I will likely get 2 paths and work on them concurrently. But the paths are meant to take quite a while to finish because there's 15 projects, plus some of the projects are gonna take a while because they involve both leadership and communication. So you may have to go interview somebody outside of Toastmasters, and that's gonna take some time, and then come back and present that to us. So there's gonna be a little bit more on the back end.
I have one
Yeah.
last question.
Yeah, keep them
So,
coming.
I can understand when you said that researching and presenting will have multiple chapters that topics that you can choose from. So in case if it's an overlap, you can pick the other 2. What about the icebreaker? Will they have a different agenda in different ones?
Yeah, so you're gonna do the icebreaker every time. Think about the icebreaker less as the icebreaker in this, where you're just introducing yourself. You're going to introduce yourself and tell us why you chose this path, why
Okay.
it's important to you, what skills you hope to improve on. So yes, the icebreaker is going to overlap, but it's going to be very different.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? There will be, so all of this takes place online, toastmasters.org. We're gonna make sure that all of you know how to log into toastmasters.org before the end of this. And something called Basecamp. Basecamp is basically the portal in which you're going to sit, you're going to choose your path, you're going to get information on your speech project, so you no longer have to find your manual and read this here. You're just going to go into your individual Basecamp, and that's where you're going to sit. And that's where your evaluations are going to be done, and everything will be conducted out of this thing called Basecamp. Yes?
So, do we need to write our evaluations or type them up in the Basecamp website and then evaluate it each time?
You can.
Okay.
So if your evaluator wants to put this directly into Basecamp, they can. Or if there's connectivity issues, or you just don't want to have people with their laptops out in the
That's
meeting,
what I was thinking.
yeah, then you can just print it out for them. They will do their evaluation, and you will take a picture or scan it, put it in Basecamp.
Okay.
And you can do the same thing for everybody's evaluations. This is the best and most exciting part to me. For people new, the hardest thing you will ever do in Toastmasters is take all this feedback, because you're going to get feedback, and figure out what to do with it. And how we do it currently is there's all these little individual slips of paper, and I'll go home from giving a speech and try to piece these pieces of paper together and figure out which ones to keep and which ones to get rid of. Now you can simply take a picture of every piece of evaluation you've ever gotten and stick it up here. And so they're all sitting, all your evaluations and feedback are sitting in one central place for you to go back and refer back to them. So not only the one evaluator, but the entire group you can put up in Basecamp.
We'll have to still manually scan and put them up.
What was that?
We'll say I have to do it manually, like scan and put them up. Cannot be done, like in a meeting I cannot expect everyone to type on their phones while the speech is going.
Yeah, that's something that individual clubs will need to figure out if they are going to have a culture where it's okay to be on their computers. My guess is that probably, yeah. But I think you can take a picture and put it up, and it should take a couple minutes. Any other questions? Sure.
Yeah.
Badges and awards. So you are getting an award each time you get to a level within your pathway. So you might be level 1 dynamic leadership, level 2 some other path, all the way to the end. The final level is that you have become proficient in dynamic leadership. And again, this is becoming more competency focused, because I'll propose a question to you. Have you ever told somebody that you're a competent communicator in Toastmasters, and they then asked, what does that mean? Or have you ever told somebody, I'm an advanced communicator, silver, baby? And then they ask, what does that mean? Just me? Okay, maybe it's just me.
We just don't say that.
Yeah, we just don't admit to it. So right now, the levels are, I'm an advanced communicator bronze, a gold, silver, advanced leadership bronze. That really isn't competency focused, and it doesn't tell anybody what you're actually good at. Whereas now you can say, I'm level 3 dynamic leadership, or I'm proficient in strategic planning, and the person that you're talking to has a little bit of context for what you're learning and focusing on in Toastmasters. So even something you can put on a resume or on LinkedIn. It's going to have more weight behind it. Like on my LinkedIn, I have Confident Communicator, Advanced Leader, Silver, and I don't think it means anything to anybody except people in Toastmasters. Now, again, it carries more weight. And there's going to be awards, so you can actually go in here and gift your colleagues awards. Maybe they gave a great speech or they gave a really thoughtful evaluation. Again, this is they've gamified it a little bit to make it very interactive and collaborative and to ensure that there's feedback being given.
This is for Arvind, who will get all the badges.
All that.
Badge collector.
Pokemon.
Are there any physical awards and badges? Like we give out ribbons, and are those going to change?
That is a great question, and I might have to defer to Bina, but I believe that at each level, level 1, 2, 3, 4, proficient, you will get a physical award.
Okay.
Yeah,
you know the answer to that?
That's the printed award. I think his question is this.
Like
Ribbons that we
ribbons
give.
for each and every step.
Even I
Yeah,
can
so
answer to that.
in my mind, part of having a physical award is
Yeah.
even when you know, I've seen some name tags with actual badges.
Like this.
Click to them. There's a sense of
Yeah.
not only that. So I'll show you.
Yeah, he is wearing one, so you can see.
Yeah.
This one?
Like these ones, right? People actually like to put them on their
What's that?
badge.
That's local.
Oh, this is local. This is not going to change.
Oh, so these things are still going to be there, right? Because I think
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
some
This is for like
pride
events
to-
and. Here, can I take this up here?
Yeah.
Right, so in Toastmasters, we have different events. You can get these little pins, or you get a pin that says you're a mentor. This
Mhm.
isn't changing,
Okay.
correct?
I think maybe he meant this CCALB thing that.
Oh, this? Yeah, I mean.
Oh yeah, those as well.
This will, you can still get these, it'll just be different, it'll say level 4.
It's like all my
It'll be
paths.
like this long. No, but in the ribbons, I'm almost positive the ribbons will still be something that you can order from Toastmasters. I mean, we have to have something to spend our district credits on, so I think the ribbons, the physical ribbons for first-time speakers, for best table topics, that's not going to go anywhere. You can just then go in and say, you know, oh, great table topics. You can give somebody kudos on the platform and leave them some feedback if you want to after.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So more than anything, it's being added to. There's more than before. Not a lot is like totally being taken away.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thanks.
Evaluations. Those of us new to Toastmasters, this is I think the most beneficial part. So every time you come give a speech, you will give a speech and you'll have an evaluator, and that person will come up after your speech and give you a 2 to 3 minute evaluation. This is what you did well, this is some areas for improvement, and overall you did a great job. And it's not really changing much. There will be new evaluation forms for each speech, so we're not reusing the evaluation forms in the Confident Communicator Manual. Each of the evaluation forms will be unique to that speech. Again, you can do this online, you can print them out for your evaluator. There will be specific areas of focus in which you as an evaluator can give feedback, so maybe the speech is about vocal variety, and you can give feedback on that. Evaluation criteria. So all this has been redone, but it's much the same. The mentorship program is still alive and well, and it's going to continue to improve. As in each of these paths, there will be some aspect of mentorship. So now it's not, do I want to be a mentor or not? It's everybody's going to be a mentor during the path at some point. Because really the mentorship, so when you join Toastmasters, you will have an evaluator for each speech you give, but you also have a mentor assigned to you. And that person will help you through your first 3 or your first 5 speeches and really be that one-on-one person to give you feedback and to focus on what you want to focus on. Yeah.
So when it comes to evaluations and mentorship, so the way we usually do it is, hey, you've completed 10 speeches, so you should be able to evaluate or mentor someone through these 10 speeches. Now that you have pathways, I might have completed, or people might be very proficient at, you know, blogging, and there might be some people who
Yeah.
have no idea about it. So how do you assign the mentor, and how does that relationship, how do you identify who's going to be good at mentoring someone for this
Yeah.
versus that?
Yeah, it might take a little bit more thought on behalf of the leadership team of the club,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because maybe you have the most experienced person ever, but they've never done that particular path before. That might not be the optimal mentor to assign to a new person who wants to do the strategic leadership path. So
Okay.
you're gonna have to look at not only who's experienced in the club, where there's a relationship fit, but also if the person, the mentor, has completed that path before, if you feel that's important.
Is that, I mean, I meant, is that some kind of matching, like that Toastmasters
I don't
itself?
think there's like an algorithm or something that's gonna match for you. I think
No, just to know that somebody's already finished that path. So let's say I want to start strategic leadership.
Yeah.
I want to know who within my club has already done that,
You will
so
be
I
able
can
to see
reach
that.
out. Okay, we'll be able to see that.
Yes, the leaders of the club will be able to see that.
Got it.
Questions? Mentorship program, getting started. Let's see. I want to raise your hand if you know how to log into Toastmasters.org. Let's do this a different way. Raise your hand if you're a member and you don't know how to log into Toastmasters.org. No shame in it if you don't. Everybody knows how to log in? Great. Well, let me. How many of you have logged in recently to Toastmasters.org? Okay, looks like a decent number of people.
How many of you know what is the Toastmasters website?
Yeah, exactly. So, here's the Toastmasters website. It's toastmasters.org. I'm actually logged in already. Oops. there's no internet. Do we have internet here? No. Okay. I can tether this to my phone. We're not going to be able to do this. I'll talk you through it. So Toastmasters.org is where Basecamp, this portal, is going to sit. Everybody here who's a member knows how to log in. You're simply going to go to Toastmasters.org, input your username, which is your email, a password, and you're going to be taken into this. And this is great because right now you can see your progress, you can see the clubs that you're in, you can see how long you've been a member, what leadership roles you've fulfilled. And then when Pathways rolls out, which is September 19th, a very important date, so make sure you write that down. That's a week from this coming Tuesday. On September 19th, you'll get an email. You'll get an email from District 401 Toastmasters or Toastmasters International that says, congratulations, Pathways, the new curriculum has rolled out for your district. You now have access to it. And you will click on that link, you will log into your Toastmasters account, and you will see Go to Pathways curriculum. And you will click on that, and it will launch this entire new user interface that you've never seen before. And that is really where you're going to sit on a day-to-day basis with Toastmasters. And the first thing you are going to do when you log in is that you're going to be taken through an assessment. So rather than just you picking some random path, there's actually a survey, a questionnaire that asks you questions about how comfortable you feel speaking and leadership and these other skills. And at the end of that, it's going to recommend a path for you. So everything exists on Toastmasters' main website, toastmasters.org. And I can show you the user interface after. I just didn't realize there was an internet connection. But it's really easy to use. It's very simple, big tiles, and it shows my awards and my projects and my paths, and it's just really intuitive. You'll have questions when you start using it. And please ask me, please ask Nina, but it really is pretty intuitive. Yep.
So I have one suggestion for the members, but a question as well. So, some of you are debating whether you would want to continue on the current path or not, right? But I'm thinking that everybody should still log in, take the assessment, and maybe even start on the new path. Because it's new, right? You don't want to wait for 2 years and just keep doing what you are doing and not explore. But in terms of fees, do you know if I'm doing the current path and now I'm just doing the first path, right? One of the paths. Does a member have to pay, or because by default it says the first path comes with the fees?
The first path comes with it.
Yeah, so
So
even
you-
for like existing members, we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, you don't have to pay. So I would take it a step further. I would take the assessment
Yeah.
and choose your first path
Yeah.
and begin using Basecamp. Because even if you're doing the old, even if you're using the old curriculum, you're still going to log into Basecamp to understand your progress. And you want to practice using it so that when we're all here attentive and here to answer questions, you have questions to ask. So I would jump right into it, use it for a couple weeks. If you decide that you're going to continue with these paper manuals, that's fine, but at least you'll have an understanding of how it works.
Do we have to choose one or the other? Like, can I explore both
You
for
can
a
do
I
few?
think we can do
You can
both
do
in
both.
parallel. That's
Okay.
the one point I want to
You can do
emphasize.
both.
You
Okay.
There's just no interlap, so if you give a speech from the old curriculum, it's not going to count for the new curriculum and vice versa. They're very independent. You can do both. something new. This is the Toastmasters Navigator. It's back here. This is the most comprehensive manual regarding what Toastmasters is all about. You as a club, I have given you a Toastmasters Navigator. This is something that you can show guests and new members. I believe when members sign up for Toastmasters for the first time, they will get this. I'm not sure if they'll get a paper copy, but it's definitely in their unique base camp. And the purpose of this is, how many times have you had a member show up and just, it was tough to explain everything that Toastmasters is because there's a lot that's going on. Well, this manual, this Toastmasters Navigator is speaking end to end about what Toastmasters is and answering questions for new members. And you have one physical copy. I believe this is the only physical copy the club will get. Otherwise, new members can access this online. So also on September 19th, when you go into base camp, be sure to read this. Now, you can get printed materials if you absolutely want. It costs a little bit more. It's $45 instead of $20. I will tell you that of all the people that have logged into their base camp already, less than 1% are using printed materials. It's just a lot easier to access these online than Toastmasters sending you manuals. But if you absolutely must have printed manuals, maybe you don't have internet access at home, then you can get these. Yes?
Why couldn't you just print it out on your own?
Yeah.
You could.
Oh, okay.
Again, this is maybe, and I don't want to generalize about other parts of the world, but probably less important for us here because most of us have printers at home and internet access, but maybe you're in some rural place in a Toastmasters club and you simply don't have access to good quality internet. Then printed
I would
materials
use it
might be
as-
something to choose.
I would use it. There's just something about having it physically, like even some people might have
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I like printing out and just mindfully writing my notes in it.
Right.
And it helps me internalize
Yep.
the material.
And again, 99% of people are going to choose to do that. Access it online and then print out what they want to print out. Here's the assessment. This is the very first thing you'll see when you log into Pathways on September 19th when it rolls out for our district. It'll ask you a series of questions. What are you interested in learning about? On a scale of disagree to agree, how comfortable are you speaking? And then at the end, it'll recommend some paths for you. We've talked about this, reaching your current education goals. You have 2 years, not from when we roll out on September 19th, but from when the last region in the world rolls out, which I'm thinking will be the end of 2018. So you really have a long time if you want to finish Distinguished Toastmaster. This is what's on the cards that I handed you. This is a just very basic overview of what Pathways is and what it's not. Nothing about the meetings is changing. So you will still show up every Sunday here at 11:30 until 1 o'clock. You'll probably have 3 prepared speeches. You'll have 3 evaluations. You'll have a bunch of table topics, and then the meeting will end. The functionary roles stay the same, on-account and grammarian. The meeting stays the same. It's just what each person is working on is different, and where they're working on it is digital instead of paper manuals. For the officers of the club, there's going to be a unique transition period in which becoming a distinguished club, those officers here probably know what distinguished club is. It's going to be a little bit tricky because you're going to have many members on the old curriculum, many members on the new curriculum, but they devised a distinguished club criteria to incorporate both. So you'll see the old curriculum on the left, the new curriculum on the right, and you can pull credits from both of these to become a distinguished club, which I know is an important part of being a club of good standing here in District 1. In 2.5 years, this is going to be all what's on the right-hand side. Level 1s, level 2s, etc. Leadership support team stays very much the same. This is the support team in terms of Pathways transition. I am your Pathways guide. Bina is the chief ambassador, and then we have the district leadership team, Dave Spence, and others that we can ask questions of if we don't have the answers to. So there's a team here that has been rolled out to help with this transition. Talk about this, the Navigator is the packets regarding Toastmasters in general. You have a USB stick, the club is a USB stick. There are certain videos on that you can watch as a club. You can send this out, you can put this on Facebook if you like. Logging in, we all know how to do this. Let me go over one more thing, because everybody has asked this so far. To get Distinguished Toastmaster, you may want to write this down. The new criteria is you complete 2 paths, and these paths involve both communication and leadership, club officer for 6 months, club mentor or coach for 6 months, club sponsor, so you're going to actually sponsor a new club.
Does sponsor mean startup one?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Start up a new club.
Start.
Yep. District officer for a year. And then there's going to be a special Distinguished Toastmaster capstone project at the very end. And that's all that I really know about it. I don't know much about it. Other than that, it's a project at the very end. I'm guessing it'll be 3 or 4 different things that go into it. If you know what the HPL is, I know he's done an HPL High Performance Leadership Project. I'm guessing similar to that, with maybe a little bit more speaking involved. So this is largely the same. Everything's the same, except you are now doing 2 paths rather than doing Confident Communicator, 2 manuals to get Advanced Communicator Bronze, 2 more manuals to get Silver, 2 more manuals to get Gold, and the Confident Leadership. All of that, those 4 have been combined into one thing, which is complete 2 paths. Guess, I'm sorry, this is a lot of information. It's going to be seamless once you join.
Everything starting September 19th.
Yeah.
So even if you did the mentoring before, that doesn't count. You have to start.
Yeah, it doesn't count towards credit to the new Pathways Distinguished Toastmaster. Again, it counts as credit to the existing Distinguished Toastmaster, which you have until 2 years from the rollout of the last region to complete.
I think that may count, so let's double check it.
What may count?
If you are currently a club mentor, or you did mentorship,
Oh, if
6
you
months
did
back.
mentorship before and you haven't claimed
if
it
you
for
haven't
one of your
claimed it
credits.
towards the
Mm.
current DTM, you could claim it towards the new DTM. I think that, we can double check, but I think
Okay,
that's.
we'll double check and
Okay.
make sure that that's the case.
So anything, if you are an area director, if you are a club sponsor, coach, mentor.
And you haven't claimed
You
credit
haven't
for it.
taken credit towards the current program, you can take it towards the new.
There's going to be little things, questions come up as you go. We're not going to be able to answer every single question here. The thing I would leave you with is just know that Toastmasters has been working on this for 7 years. Right? They first conceived of the idea to have a new curriculum in 2010, and they've gone out and they've interviewed clubs and speakers, and they've looked at all the data that they've gathered across 400,000 members. And so this has been a really slow, thoughtful, methodical process. They're not going to do anything that jeopardizes membership in Toastmasters, so it's going to be a smooth, easy transition. It's definitely in the best interest of all of us members. Again, there will be questions that come up, and we'll just have to ask as we go. Because I don't even have access to Basecamp yet. I sort of have half access. I don't have access to everything until September 19th.
So does doing CC make any sense now? If we are not doing DTM, does it make sense like 6th or 7th CC? Should I finish till 10th and then move on to this one? Because I don't think it's
Yeah.
a good idea to stop it.
It's up to you. If you get a sense of completion from finishing CC, I would do that. It sounds like you're almost there. So I would just finish it and then start with the new curriculum. But it's up to you. You are more than free to just jump over to this. Maybe you could be the